All right, so get ready, because today we're taking a deep dive into, uh, well into the strange and unsettling.
Like unexplained.
Yeah, exactly. Like where reality and, the unexplained kind of blur together.
Right. Yeah, where rational thought meets maybe something beyond.
Yeah, and what's so cool is that we're going to be looking at, we've got all these anecdotes from this online forum. It's really cool stories from people who claim to have experienced the unexplainable.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're going to look at some of those, and then we're going to kind of shift gears and look at some true crime cases
Correct then.
that are so strange they'll make you question like everything you thought you knew about, human nature.
So like the psychology behind it as well?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
So let's start with these whispers from the unknown.
Okay.
I've got a few stories here. They're all really short and kind of mysterious,
Right.
and they really leave you with more questions than answers.
I liked it.
This first one is about a man who received a voicemail from his deceased sister.
Okay, so right away we're jumping into the deep end here.
Yeah.
Like this is tapping into some serious fears, right?
Yeah.
The idea that we can connect with those we've lost.
Exactly, and so in this story, his sister dies in a fire,
Oh.
tragically, and he takes time off work to grieve. He comes back, and there's a message from his sister on his voicemail.
On the voicemail.
Yeah. And in the message, she's screaming for help, saying she's trapped and can't breathe.
That's terrifying. That sends chills down my spine.
Yeah, it's really disturbing.
You know, it makes me think about, have you ever heard of auditory hallucinations during grief?
No.
Yeah, it's like a thing. It's actually documented, where people who are grieving, they report hearing the voice of the deceased, especially in those early stages of mourning. It's
Yeah.
like their mind is trying to process this profound loss, and so it kind of holds on to that connection, even if it's just an echo.
So it's like a trick of the mind, but it's fueled by like real intense emotion.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Our brains are wired to find patterns to make sense of the world around us. So
Right.
when we're faced with something like death, it's like our minds try to bridge that gap, even if it means creating something that's not really there.
It's so crazy to think about like what's real and what's not, especially when you're already like in that vulnerable state of grieving.
Absolutely.
Because this next story, this one's about a grandfather who avoided a fatal accident because of a warning he got from his late wife's voice.
Okay, so this is like a protective presence from beyond the grave kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of like a guardian angel situation.
All right, I'm curious.
So picture this. He's sitting in his living room years after his wife passed away.
Okay.
And suddenly he hears her voice calling his name
From where?
from inside the house. So he gets up, goes inside, and moments later, a cast iron gutter falls from the roof and lands right on the chair where he was sitting.
Wow.
I know.
So was it her, or was it like some kind of premonition or like subconscious awareness of danger?
That's what I was thinking. Like, what if he subconsciously noticed something was off with the gutter?
Right.
And his mind just like conjured up his wife's voice as like a warning.
It's possible.
Like, we don't even really understand how our brains process danger sometimes.
Yeah. And intuition, too.
Right.
It's amazing how our subconscious minds can pick up on these subtle cues that our conscious minds totally miss.
Totally. Okay, so this last one, this one's a little different. It's about a college student who was found in a dark stairwell eating her own hair.
Oh, that's unsettling.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
What do you mean eating her own hair?
So she was under a lot of stress, like extreme stress.
Okay.
And they found her, and she was just like totally calm, but she was pulling out clumps of her hair and eating them.
Was she like having a breakdown or something?
No, she just kept repeating, I just need a haircut.
Oh my God.
No, it's so bizarre.
That's really strange. It makes you think about like stress-induced behaviors
Yeah.
and coping mechanisms. When people are under extreme pressure, sometimes they develop these really unusual habits.
It's like eating your hair.
Yeah, well, it could be something like that, or, sometimes even harmful ones
Oh, wow.
as a way to manage their anxiety.
So like her hair eating was like her way of coping, even though it seems so strange.
It's possible there could also be some deeper psychological factors going on.
Like what?
Well, there's a disorder called trichotillomania. Have you heard of that?
No.
It's where people have this irresistible urge to pull out their hair.
Wow.
Or, it could be a sign of something even more serious, like a dissociative episode.
From the stress.
Yeah, triggered by all the pressure she was under.
Wow. There's so much to think about there.
It really is.
It's like this reminder that even something that seems simple can have like all these complex psychological roots.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really makes you think about like what's going on under the surface, with people.
Totally.
And that kind of leads us perfectly into the next section because we're going from,
Mhm.
the potentially paranormal to to the cold, hard facts of true crime.
Okay. Yeah, we're about to dive into some cases where it's not, ghosts or whatever.
Right.
It's real people and their motivations, and that can be even more disturbing.
Yeah, for sure. So the first case is it's the story of Ira Einhorn,
Okay.
also known as the Unicorn,
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting nickname.
Yeah, how did he get that?
Well, his last name is Einhorn, which is German for unicorn.
Ah.
But he was also like a very prominent figure in the counterculture movement.
Oh, really?
Yeah, back in the 60s and 70s.
Just like peace and love and all that.
Exactly. He was an environmental activist, a self-proclaimed guru.
So like the opposite of a criminal?
You would think, right, but that's the thing about appearances.
True.
They can be deceiving.
So what happened?
So in 1977, his ex-girlfriend, Holly Maddox, disappeared.
Okay.
And he claimed that she just vanished, like, on her way to the co-op. But get this, 18 months later, the police found her body in a trunk
What?
in his closet.
In his closet?
Yeah, and it was partially mummified.
Oh my gosh. That is horrific.
It's really disturbing, and that's when everything, like, totally unraveled,
Yeah, the mask came off, so to speak.
Right, and it gets even crazier because he actually fled to Europe before his trial could even start.
He just took off.
Yeah, he was convicted in absentia
Oh.
and then managed to avoid extradition for years.
He was like a fugitive.
Yeah, and get this, he even got married while he was on the run.
This guy,
I know, it's
it's
unbelievable.
like he was living in a different reality.
Right, and it really shows you how manipulative he was,
Yeah, he was playing the victim. Like, he was this misunderstood genius being persecuted by the authorities.
And people bought it.
It's amazing how long he was able to keep up that facade.
I know. But eventually he was extradited back to the U.S. in 2001, stood trial.
Okay.
And throughout the whole thing, he maintained his innocence.
Did he have like an alibi or something?
No, he claimed that the CIA had killed Holly Maddox and framed him.
Oh, come on.
I know, right?
That's like a classic conspiracy theory.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, was he actually delusional
Right.
or just a master manipulator?
It's hard to say. Maybe it was a bit of both.
Yeah, maybe he actually believed his own lies.
It's possible. Some people have this really inflated sense of self-importance.
Right.
It's like they're above the rule.
And they'll do whatever it takes to protect their image.
Exactly, even if it means twisting reality.
Okay, so let's move on to a case that's equally disturbing, but for totally different reasons.
Okay.
This one is about Nathan Leopold and Richard Loeb.
I've heard of this case.
Yeah, they were these two teenagers who thought they could commit the perfect crime.
Like they were geniuses or something.
They were really smart, yeah, and wealthy.
Okay.
And they were totally convinced that they were superior to everyone else.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So they planned this elaborate kidnapping and murder of a 14-year-old boy named Bobby Franks.
Oh, my gosh, why?
It's really messed up. Their motive was basically just for the thrill of it.
What?
They wanted to prove that they could get away with it.
Like some kind of twisted game.
Yeah, they saw themselves as above the law. Like they didn't have to follow the same rules as everyone else.
That's scary.
It really is. So they bludgeoned Bobby Franks with a chisel,
Oh, God.
stuffed a rag down his throat, and then dumped his body in a culvert.
That's just awful.
It's a horrible story. And they even sent a ransom note to the Franks family.
Trying to throw off the police.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what ended up being their downfall?
What was it?
Leopold's eyeglasses.
His eyeglasses.
Yeah, they were found near the body.
Wow. So like a tiny detail.
Yeah, just one little thing that ruined their whole perfect crime.
It's like something out of a movie.
Right. It just shows you that no one is really above the law.
No one can escape consequences.
So they were caught, they confessed, and ended up being sentenced to life in prison.
What a waste.
Yeah, it's a really sad story. And it just shows you the dark potential that exists in people.
Even those who seem to have it all.
Right. Intelligence, wealth, privilege.
It's a good reminder that evil can show up anywhere.
And that sometimes the scariest monsters aren't supernatural.
They're just regular people with really messed up motivations.
Yeah, these cases are definitely disturbing.
They are.
But they also give us a glimpse into the complexity of human nature.
And the things that can drive people to do unthinkable acts.
Exactly. And it's important to understand that darkness.
Yeah, to learn from it so we can try to prevent it in the future.
Yeah, it's like we're looking into a mirror and seeing all the different sides of humanity.
Right, the good, the bad, and the really, really confusing.
You know, it's funny you should say that because as I was thinking about all these stories,
Yeah.
I kept noticing this connection between the paranormal stuff and the true crime cases.
What do you mean?
Well, they both tap into this, like, primal fear of the unknown.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like whether it's a voice from beyond the grave or realizing that someone you thought you knew is capable of something terrible.
Right.
It's that uncertainty that not knowing that really gets under our skin.
It's like that feeling you get when you're walking alone at night and you hear footsteps behind you.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like your mind immediately jumps to the worst case scenario.
Right, even though it's probably just someone else walking home.
Exactly. But our brains are wired to like anticipate danger, you know?
We're always trying to fill in the gaps.
Right. Like our brains are coming up with stories to explain things, even if we don't have all the information.
And sometimes those stories lead us down a path of fear and anxiety, even when there's no real danger.
So what are we supposed to do? Like just be constantly looking over our shoulders, suspicious of everyone?
No, no, not at all. It's about finding a balance, I think,
Between what?
between being aware and being skeptical.
Okay.
Like, acknowledge that there are things we might never fully understand,
Right.
but also be critical of the information we come across.
So we can be open to the possibility of the unexplained,
Yeah,
but we don't let fear control us.
exactly. It's like walking a tightrope.
Between curiosity and caution.
Yeah. You want to explore, but you also need to be grounded in reality.
So we don't fall into like paranoia or believing things without any evidence.
Right. And I think that's a really important skill to have these days.
Especially with all the information overload.
Yeah, there's so much out there, and a lot of it is designed to scare us or take advantage of our fears.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the strange and the unsettling,
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is stay curious,
Always
but also be discerning.
question what you see and hear.
Don't just believe everything you're told.
Right, and remember, compassion is key.
What do you mean?
Like, no matter what we're dealing with, whether it's the mysteries of the mind or the darkness in people's hearts,
Yeah.
empathy and understanding are really important.
I like that. Well, this has been quite a journey.
It has.
We've explored these whispers from the unknown
The chilling reality of true crime.
and all the complexities of the human mind.
It's amazing how much we still don't know.
Right. But that's what makes it so fascinating.
So to everyone listening out there,
Yeah.
keep asking questions and never lose that curiosity.
Because sometimes the most unsettling truths
Are the ones we find closest to home?
within ourselves and the
Um.
people around us.